Okay, we're live. Hello, I'm going to see if anyone's going to join. All right, so if you're watching the replay, you can fast forward over this intro part. But definitely check out the links in the description. I have a link to my website, notyouraveragenutritionist.com, where you can find out more about me, the services I offer. So my name is Registered Dietitian Libby Parker. I help people recover from eating disorders in private practice, online, and in my book, Permission to Eat. So this is available wherever you buy books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. It's all available online. And we have the Kindle version, paperback, hardback. This is a recovery book for eating disorders. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into today, and hopefully people will join on. Today's video is all about anxiety with grocery shopping. Also, for the person watching, can you type into the chat if you can hear me? I just want to make sure my microphone is working since I'm using this guy instead of my computer mic. Okay, so if you're someone who has anxiety grocery shopping, primarily this is aimed at people who have eating disorders or disordered eating, making sure that I don't know where I was going with that. Eating disorder, disordered eating. I know that grocery shopping can be extremely anxiety provoking. And then in this time of the coronavirus, people are going crazy with grocery shopping and shopping for essentials right now. There's a lot of scarcity mindset happening. People are hoarding food, which comes from a psychological trauma response. So I want to address that as well. But since this video really is aimed at general shopping, not just in times of crisis, I really want to focus on the eating disorder and anxiety type of grocery shopping. Okay, so we're going to start with a little story about me when I was struggling with food in college. So I was a restrictive eater. I definitely get where you guys are coming at if you're having anxiety around food. I remember going into the grocery store, and I could spend easily an hour grocery shopping just for me, just for one, college student without a lot of money. And I would just go up and down every single aisle. And whenever I would get to, a food that I wanted to purchase, I would have to review every single option. And when I would narrow it down to a few options, I would be reading the nutrition facts panels and the ingredient lists. And it was just a lot. I would have so much anxiety, and I could spend close to an hour in a grocery store and leave without buying anything. That's insane. Like, that was a waste of a day. It caused a lot of anxiety. Yeah, and I've had so many clients now that do the same thing. They are either leaving the grocery store after spending a good chunk of time in there without buying anything, without buying what they need, or buying everything and things they don't need because they get to a point of, screw it, I have no idea what I'm going to buy. I'm just going to start throwing stuff in the cart, and they buy too much food, which either they binge on or it leads to a lot of food waste and waste of money. So I want to help you guys really understand how to approach grocery shopping a little differently, hopefully reduce your anxiety and overwhelm with grocery shopping, and go in with a little bit more of a plan so that you can leave with the things that you actually need and want. I would like to also take this moment, if you don't know me already, definitely go check out my website and my social media. My Facebook and Instagram handle is at Dietitian Libby. I practice from an all foods fit perspective. So if something is safe to consume, meaning it's not going to have foodborne illness, it's approved by the government. I know people have different thoughts on the government, but the FDA is pretty good with food, and it isn't something that you're actually allergic to, then it's okay to eat. That's kind of my stance on it. We'll get into some things a little bit later in this. Like, I know people have fears around food additives and GMOs and stuff like that. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want you to just know that I come from a place where all foods fit and you can take care of your body no matter where you're at in terms of your health, your size, your weight, all of that stuff. So I hope that you can agree with that, and stay tuned. Okay. So, first thing to think about when you're going grocery shopping is to start with a list. I love grocery shopping with a list, especially for people who haven't really figured out the whole, what do I need to be getting on a regular basis? I feel like some people, once they get into a rhythm of regular grocery shopping and, meal prepping, they get to a place where they don't need a list anymore because they know what they need. But when you have anxiety, when this is newer or harder for you, or maybe just forever, I think grocery shopping with a list is super important. And so that means setting aside some time before you leave the house to go grocery shopping and assessing what you currently have and what you would like to eat for the next week or however long you're grocery shopping for. I like to say in general, grocery shopping once a week for an average, 1 to 4 person household is pretty good. Um, you may need to stop at a store to get some fresh produce or bread or something at other times during the week if you're running out or it goes bad. But, 1 to 2 weeks for the essentials, the non perishables, things that you can stock up on a little bit more is a really good place to start. So grab your pad of paper or your phone or whatever you're going to use to write down this list and start by assessing what you already have. If you have the time, at some point, whether it's before this first grocery shopping trip, after this webinar, or sometime in the future, I would really suggest go through your fridge, freezer, your cabinets, and start with getting rid of anything that's expired or that you're never going to use. So that's going to free up space and let you see what you're actually working with. So we're starting from the ground up here. I am going to get to the in the store tips for anxiety, but let's start with creating our foundation here. So first thing is making sure that the food that you have at home currently is stuff that is within its expiration time, that you can actually still eat it safely. Make sure that it's stuff that you're actually going to consume at some point. If you have something that you bought on a whim or someone gave you that you're never going to eat, why are you letting it take up real estate in your fridge or cupboard? So go ahead, get rid of it. If it's something useful, see if you can give it to someone else that would like it. I'm big on, let's not waste food if we can help it, but you got to do what's right for you. So that's the first thing. And then looking at kind of the gaps in what you have. So if you just had to throw out your milk because it's expired and you want milk, make sure you put milk on the list. Go through and say, where is my current food lacking? And make sure that you're making a list of that. If you're someone who likes to cook a lot from home, take a look at the recipes that you want to use this week as well, and write down the ingredients that you need to purchase at the store while you're at this phase of prepping for your grocery shopping trip. This is going to save a lot of time, anxiety, self-doubt, and purchasing things you don't need if you're actually writing down what you're going to be using in the immediate future. So that can also be if you're working with a dietitian and you have a meal plan or something, looking at, okay, what kind of foods do I not currently have or I'm going to need to stock up on for the next couple days or weeks to make sure that I'm getting my different needs met. If you're using recipes, make sure that you've pulled out the recipes. Are there certain ingredients? I know when I'm looking at recipes, I love looking on Pinterest for recipes or cookbooks or whatever. There's oftentimes at least one ingredient, if not like 10 ingredients that you wouldn't normally keep at home, whether it's because it's something that you need fresh or it's just something obscure and out there, like, I don't know, fish sauce or something. Figure out what it is so you don't have to go back and make multiple trips. Okay, so that's tip number one, is getting your list ready. Okay, sorry, I have all my notes written down here. Okay, so next thing, this is both useful for while you're writing your list as well as when you're in the store. I want you to think about what are things that you would actually eat. For instance, if you don't like broccoli, don't buy broccoli thinking that, it's going to be aspirational and like, if I have broccoli in my fridge, I'm going to eat it and be healthy. And like, if there's zillions of other vegetables out there that you can have and enjoy. So don't feel like you have to eat something because it's what someone else is eating or it's what you should be doing. It needs to be something that you're actually going to enjoy. And I am going to challenge what I just said and contradict myself. Where if you're doing something where you're eating the same foods every day, or you get into these food ruts, I will challenge you to push your comfort zone a bit with this. Try a new food. So if you're eating, let's say, the same meal plan every day, a lot of my eating disorder clients, they're eating the same foods for every meal. Their breakfasts all look the same, their lunches all look the same, their snacks all look the same. Like, this is where I am going to challenge you to try something a little bit different. So, and it can be a baby step. It can be a tiniest thing. So if you currently eat broccoli every day, try asparagus, try a different green vegetable. Or, however you want. If you currently only eat red apples, try a green apple. Like, you can take baby steps with this if that's where you're at. If you're ready to take a bigger step, then try something out of the box. If your snack is always an apple, try like an apple and a cheese stick or something, or go to something completely different and try a granola bar, or whatever. Like, I'm throwing out ideas. There's a billion possibilities here. There's so many delicious foods on this planet, and you're welcome to try new things. And if you bought something and tried it this week and it wasn't your jam, you don't have to buy it again, or you don't have to buy it again in the near future. Maybe it's something that it didn't sit right for now, and it doesn't mean that you're ruling these things out forever. You can go back to it in a few months and say, all right, I'm ready to try the granola bar now, So push yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone. That's how you're going to grow. Okay, where was I with this? Okay, so while you're in the grocery store, I think this is why most of you are watching this video. If you are starting to feel anxiety, panic, overwhelm, you're getting to that place of, I don't know what to buy. You're either listlessly walking down the aisles and not picking up anything, or you're obsessively looking at all of the food labels and comparing things and second guessing yourself about which one's the healthier one, or which one, fits this box that I've created for myself, whatever food rules that you have. Here are a couple things that can help with that in the moment anxiety. So first of all, revisit that list that you wrote. So you are shopping with a list for a reason, and the more clear you can be with writing that list ahead of time, the better. I'm going to caution that still needs to be a little bit flexible, and I'll talk about why in a minute. But having that list to go back to when there's that overwhelm of, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to buy or what to look for, you've got it written down. You prepped for this. Breathe. Anyone who has had anxiety and has gotten any help with it, whether through therapy, with working with a dietitian, doing meditation, yoga, any of that stuff, you know that breathing is super important in calming yourself down. So when we get into anxiety and panic, our heart starts to beat faster, our breathing gets a little more rapid, it kind of feels like everything's closing in. Breathing can really help loosen all of that up. So with anxiety, your breathing quickens. So we're going to focus on breathing and making it last a little longer. So if you just need to stand in one spot, focus on breathing in and breathing out and counting. Like, see if you can start with breathing in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts, and then do 5 and then do 6, and get to a place where your breathing is slower and steadier and you're focused, and it can be in the form of mini meditation. You also can shop with headphones in. Please take them out when you're actually at the checkout, because it's rude to have headphones in or be talking on your phone when you're actually interacting with a person and checking out. But while you're in the aisles, if it helps you to have a meditation on, or music, or be talking to someone, that's totally fine. If that's going to help your anxiety stay down, use those headphones. Okay, so hopefully that's helping, and that can take a few minutes, so don't feel bad about this. You can just pretend you're looking at something while you're breathing. It's okay. So next tip for while you're in these moments of panic, focus on just one item that you're looking for. So rather than looking at your list of 20 items and being like, oh my God, this is so much stuff, just look at one and say, okay, I need to get bread. And that's all you're going to think about for right now. You're going to go, you're going to look at the bread. And I would really encourage you, unless it's something where you have a specific medical condition, you're looking for something very specific, steer away from bothering with the nutrition facts panels and ingredients lists. Look at what actually sounds like something you want to eat, what looks tasty, what is going to be that product that you actually want to consume, not just because it's the healthiest version, because we can play that game all day long. Like, what does healthy mean? There's so many different definitions of that. And the more rigid you're getting about that, the more your anxiety is going to go through the roof, the harder it's going to be to break free from that eating disorder. So we really want to have that focus on what am I actually looking forward to eating? And if you've been someone who's been really stuck in particularly a restrictive mindset, asking yourself, what do I look forward to eating can be a really out there concept. And you may have asked yourself this, but when was the last time you actually followed through on getting that thing? It's okay to eat things that you crave. It's okay to eat things that look good. It really is. So write that one down. And I want you to also know that there's no good and bad foods. It's just food. Food does not have a moral value placed on it. If it is safe to consume, as we talked about earlier in this video, it's safe to consume. So on that point, I do want to talk about the regulation of food and how it gets into grocery stores. So there's a difference between food products, dietary supplements, food additives. There's different categories of things that are on your shelves. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be talking about the big grocery stores, not like a little mom and pop shop or a dietary supplement store like GNC or something. We're talking about our larger grocery stores, supermarkets, okay? So if a food is made for mass market, so I have no affiliations with any brands here. I'm just going to throw stuff out because I think people will resonate. So let's say we're looking at like Kellogg's cereal or Lucerne milk or something like that. So again, I don't know anything about the backstory on these companies. I'm not affiliated, but I'm just giving you some, major market brands. Okay. So if something is in a big supermarket like that, if it's a known brand, it's going to have had some pretty, rigorous testing. This is for the United States. Every country has their own food system, but for foods, not dietary supplements, but for food products, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, does test that food and make sure that the ingredients are safe to consume, that the manufacturing plant is safe and clean and all of that stuff. What else was I looking for with that? Basically, it's going to be safe to consume. So that includes food additives. So if we're looking at things and you're like, oh my gosh, this product has so many chemicals in it or something. So first of all, everything is made up of chemical elements, molecules. We are made up of molecules. I know there was that meme, going around. I think it was from Science Babe or some, actually unscientific source who was saying like, I think it was bananas have like the same ingredient in them or same chemical in them as yoga mats or something like that. Well, bananas are very natural. They're very good for you. There's nothing about something in a banana that is not edible. So we really need to be using some logic here. Just because something has a difficult to pronounce name does not mean that it's not okay to eat. Okay. People are afraid of all these things. There's, I think it's Michael Pollan's, like if your grandmother wouldn't have eaten it or couldn't pronounce it, then you shouldn't eat it. No, like if it's a food product, so again, not a dietary supplement, but actual food, bread, cereal, dairy, a package of cookies. If it's something that's in a major grocery store like that, it's going to be safe to consume, assuming that you personally do not have a food allergy or autoimmune disease that cannot handle it. So, for instance, if you have celiac disease and the product contains wheat, barley, rye, gluten, then yeah, you personally should not be eating that. But that does not mean that it is unsafe for people that do not have celiac disease. So, again, using that common sense. Okay. What I do want to say about this, though, is, and why I keep saying dietary supplements, is dietary supplements are not regulated the same way that food is. So there is no set legal testing of dietary supplements. So when I say this, I mean things like vitamins, protein powders, anything that's not considered an actual food product. So you're going to see these in like the supplement section of the store or in supplement stores. They are going to say dietary supplement on them. So any of like your little like powdered beverage things are probably going to fall into that category. Not like lemonade, but like your recovery drinks and stuff like that. So the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of people think like, ooh, supplements healthy, vitamins healthy. I should take all the vitamin C. I should, take blah, 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 because my herbalist told me about this or whatever. It does not mean that they are actually safe to consume or that they're something that our body actually needs. So the reason that they're called dietary supplements is that they are to supplement the diet, not replace it. So again, we want to be getting the majority of our nutrients from real foods first. And then occasionally we will need to add, vitamins and minerals or something, but there's so many products out there that we really do not need to be consuming. That's not what this webinar is for. I'm not going to go into it, but again, looking at using food first. We're also going to say, so dietary supplements, because they're not regulated the same way that actual foods are, they might contain things that are harmful. They might not have products that are exactly what they say on the bottle. They haven't necessarily had regulation of dosing, so you could be taking an unsafe dose. It could be something that's totally a placebo effect, so it's not actually going to help you. You're just paying for something that your body doesn't need and isn't going to do any benefit. So a lot of those supplements I would be extremely wary of. So just throwing that out there. Okay, so while we're also in the grocery store and you're having trouble choosing between two similar products, I remember when I would be like looking at cereals and I could spend 10 minutes just looking at 2 or 3 boxes of cereal and, analyzing every last little piece of information about them and saying, which one is the one that I should get? So first of all, remember when you're in that situation, there isn't really a bad choice. Choose the one that looks the best when you get it narrowed down to just a couple choices. And if you're still having trouble deciding between a couple things, something you can do is bring some stickers into the grocery store with you. And that's when you get to that point, grab a sticker, slap it on one of the boxes, and that's the one you're going to buy. No going back once the sticker's on it. So that encourages you to make a faster decision and stick with your decision rather than, oh, I'm going to go put this back and grab the other thing. Oh, is that, and, you can play the back and forth game all day long. You put a sticker on a box, that's the one you're going to buy. So another thing when you get the products actually home that can be useful, if the nutrition facts labels or ingredients label sections of the box or package are particularly triggering for you, is to use stickers, Sharpies, duct tape, something to cover that up or cut it off the package if it's not going to hurt the food inside. That way you don't have to keep looking at it. I know it can be really tempting that every time you pull out a snack or something, you go right to looking at the nutrition facts panel and, whatever it is about that is triggering for you, whether it's the calories or the fat or protein or whatever, don't even give yourself the option to read it again. Cover that up. So again, stickers, duct tape, using a Sharpie or something, just cover that all up so you don't have to look at it again. That can really help. Let's see. I feel like I had one more thing I wanted to say. I know a lot of people are freaked out about GMO products, and I know there's a lot of different controversial statements on this. So, with my background in science, this is my opinion on it. And I do believe this is based in science, but I'll let you have your own opinion on this. So, GMOs are genetically modified organisms in our food products. As a general rule, these are not harmful. Again, how we talked about the mass marketplace and food needing to be tested and approved and safe to consume to go um, into that. So, one of the things that the FDA is looking at, they have what's called GRAS for especially food additives that generally recognized as safe. So, things like cinnamon and certain other food additives. My brain is drawing a blank right now. Thank you. Um, so there's certain ingredients in things as well as things that are going into GMOs that are just generally recognized as safe, meaning that there is no reason that it would be unsafe for humans to consume these things. So we're going to start there. But then GMOs are used in scientific ways as essentially, in a lot of cases, not all, speeding up um, creating hybrids of things essentially. So there's a lot of produce now that is getting genetically modified so that it will stay ripe longer. Now, this is not affecting the nutritional value of that produce. It is simply allowing the ripe time to be a little bit longer so that we are creating less food waste. So, in things like that, it is actually a really beneficial thing to have GMO products. There are other ones. So here's get on my soapbox with like Monsanto and some of those types of companies where they're genetically modifying certain grains so that they are only able to work with their certain types of pesticides and fertilizers. And I don't know all the details of that essentially, but and that's really just making it difficult for anyone who doesn't have their seeds to be able to produce food. In that sense, it's just really selfish. But the food itself is not harmful to eat. So the GMO wheat from Monsanto is not unsafe for the body. It's just really stupid for the environment. So, in that sense, if you want to do ethical shopping, I understand, but it's not going to hurt your body to consume it. So, if it's between a GMO food and a non GMO food, or a GMO food and nothing to eat, like the GMO is not going to hurt you. Okay. The one caveat to that is if there is a cross contamination with allergens. There was, I think it was the Flavor Saver tomato that came out that had some GMOs taken from fish cells to maintain the flavor of the tomato longer. And I could be remembering this wrong. Maybe it's not a tomato, but there was something where they were using fish in a produce element. So someone who had an allergy to that part of a fish could potentially, not necessarily, but potentially have an allergic reaction to that tomato or whatever produce that was. I very, very rarely are there things in cross species like that. I think that's not allowed anymore. I could be wrong on that. Again, don't take this as the final word. But typically with GMO things, they are using genetics from the same species. It might just be two different plants or something. So again, I am not at all personally concerned with GMO foods. I don't find that they are unsafe. I am not worried about consuming them. I am not going to go out of my way to avoid them. You are welcome to have your own opinion on that. This is not the place to sound off about that. So please don't talk about GMOs in the comments. This is not what this is for. But know that it's generally safe. Okay, so the very last thing I want to talk about today is what's happening with this quarantine and the COVID-19 epidemic, since we're all stuck home in isolation, and there was all of the hoarding of food and paper products in the stores and all that fear. So, specifically for people with eating disorders, I know this can be a really triggering and emotional time to go grocery shopping when you go to the store and the specific food that you were looking for is not on the shelf. It can be very scary to stare at empty shelves and be like, oh my gosh, my specific food product is gone. What am I going to eat now? Do I just not eat? Like, and, the racing thoughts that come with that. And I know it's really hard in this scarcity mindset, but we need to think about this in terms of, some logic here. And again, I'm a dietitian. I'm telling you that these foods are safe to consume even if they're not the things you typically would eat. So let's think of this as a way to really move forward in your recovery. So we can look at this as a time to practice some food exposure therapy. So if you don't have the specific food products that you're used to eating, this is, going to force you to try something a little bit different. And this is actually a really good thing. It can be anxiety provoking in the moment, whether it's the moment of buying it, of preparing it, of actually eating it. But you're going to see that you're going to eat this food and nothing terrible is going to happen on the other side of that. It's just food. Really, it's just food. So I really would encourage you to try, buying something that you normally wouldn't and see how that goes for you. Um, and it's okay to feel emotional about that. I hope that if this is something you're struggling with, you're working with a dietitian and a therapist to help you with these, food exposures. It can be super, super helpful to have someone else to sit with you while you're consuming these foods. So also get logical about it. If you're eating something that, is new or not normal for you, remember that this food product is on these shelves for a reason. Like people do eat it. It's safe to consume. It's popular enough that they're making a lot of it and putting it out in grocery stores. So somebody's eating it. And I bet you know someone who eats this food. So it logically it's very safe to consume. It's just something that your eating disorder has been lying to you about that you can't have. I'm going to tell you a little secret here. Get closer. You're not that special. I mean this with love. You're not the exception to the rule. You can eat the thing that you're scared of. Again, with the exception of as long as you aren't allergic to it or have an autoimmune disease that says you can't. And if you think you're having food sensitivities or allergies, I really encourage you to get tested because a lot of my clients that have come in and thought that they had, um, you know, issues with gluten or dairy or what have you, we got them tested. We started incorporating those foods into their diet, and it turned out that they did not have allergies or issues with these foods. It had been their eating disorder telling them they couldn't. And once they got them back into their diet on a regular basis, the digestive issues went away, their fears around the foods went away, and they were able to consume them again and not have any problems. So think logically about this. And then for kind of a last point with this, feel gratitude. So it seems like a weird thing to say when you don't have the foods you want and you're feeling very ungrateful that your grocery store is out of your products, but have gratitude that your body is actually able to digest and utilize whatever food you're putting in it. It's really, really cool. So let's say you eat a specific protein bar and they're out of those and you get a different food. Let's say you get crackers instead. Your body is still able to break down those crackers, process them, use the nutrients, give your body energy and vitamins and minerals and all of the things. That is so cool. The more I study science, the more I study nutrition, the more in awe I am of the human body because we can turn food into everything. We make energy, we make cells, we build up our body tissues and organs, we grow hair. Like it's insane what our body does with food. And just because it's not something you don't normally eat, if it's actually food, your body still can use it. So be grateful that you have an amazing body right as it is that is going to help you digest this food. Now, obviously, if you have, you know, uh, let's say your bowel is not functioning or whatever, like I'm talking to a general population here. So please don't put the hate messages of, yeah, but I had, surgery and I can't eat these things anymore. Like, okay, there are exceptions here, and hopefully you're working with a dietitian on your specifics. But for the general population, your body can digest food and it's going to use it. And that is so dang cool. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this video today. If you want more information about who I am, what I do, please check out my website, notyouraveragenutritionist.com. There's a link in the description of this video. Find me on social media at Dietitian Libby. And don't forget to check out my book, Permission to Eat. If you are struggling with an eating disorder and you want additional help, you want to take the next steps beyond this video, this is a great place to start. It's less than $10 on Kindle. Why not? Give it a try. All right. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.